Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. My name is Dr. Zora, and in this video, we're giving you guys a complete guide to dominating with the Odin. Machine guns have really become a meme weapon in Valorant. However, Riot has really done an incredibly good job of making every weapon as viable as possible, and that includes the machine guns. Particularly, the Odin is a weapon that many players have really underestimated, being called a meme gun or noob weapon. This is so far from the truth though, as the Odin is a very viable weapon when put in the right hands and used correctly. You'll even see professional players purchase this weapon, and we'll break down what the Odin can really do and how you can also take advantage of its overpowered features to absolutely dominate your competition. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Starting things off, we got our question of the day for y'all. Which weapon do you hate to face the most in Valorant? The Odin is definitely a weapon that can bring a bad taste into people's mouth, but we've also heard the Operator fall into this category of most hated weapons as well. We're curious where each weapon stacks up on the hate list, so drop those comments down below. First, let's break down the damage of the Odin. The Odin has incredible short range potential, dealing 98 damage to the head, 38 to the body, and 32 in the legs. At first glance, you may think the headshot damage is particularly worse than the Phantom and Vandal, but we have to consider that the Odin has significantly greater firing rate, which makes up for the lower damage per shot. Beyond 30 meters, the Odin falls off a big amount, dealing only 77 damage at the head, 31 at the body, and 26 at the legs. This is a pretty significant damage drop, which is why we first recommend trying to play closer range with this weapon within the 30 meter mark to ensure you get the most damage possible. That is not to say the Odin can't be good longer ranges, and in fact it does have very good kill potential beyond 30 meters, but for it to really shine, the closer ranges are going to be the way to go to get the most bang for your buck with this weapon. And speaking of damage, if you want to maximize your damage output and quickly improve, then go to skillcapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you everything you need to blast through the rankings in Valorant. The link will be provided in the description below. Next, let's talk about the Odin's recoil. The recoil pattern for this weapon is actually fairly similar to the Phantom and Vandal, except it's more on the wilder side. The first 20 or so bullets are fairly straightforward, where the recoil goes straight up. From there, the recoil will sway first to the left and then to the right, just like the Phantom and Vandal, but it will do it more in a zigzag pattern at first. When zooming in, the recoil pattern is the same, but the vertical and lateral jumps will be greatly reduced. Along with that, there are several more bullets that will be shot on the left and right edges before the spray starts to switch directions. Now that we know the recoil pattern, let's figure out how we can control it. Essentially, what we need to do is move our crosshair in the exact opposite of the recoil. For the first 20 bullets, all you need is to pull straight down. From there, you want to pull down and to the right at a diagonal for the next 20 bullets to counteract how the Odin's recoil zigzags up and to the left. After that, you want to pull down to the left for the next 20 bullets to counteract the zigzag pattern that goes to the right. The Odin only does the zigzag pattern for the first 60 bullets. From there, it goes fairly horizontal to the left and right, so you want to simply move your crosshair to the right and then left every 20 bullets afterwards. This pattern of movements will give you perfect accuracy with the Odin. Again, note that the recoil when aiming down sight is reduced, so you'll need to pull down less when zoomed in versus when you're not. The movements stay the same, but tone it down a notch to get your bullets where they need to be. Now that we know the Odin's recoil, we can get into the more advanced techniques that you'll need to master this monster of a weapon. First up is crouching. Like with all guns, crouching really helps increase your accuracy, but it is especially important to do so with the Odin. When comparing the recoil difference when standing versus crouching, the vertical jump and spread is significantly lower with crouching. In fact, we found that if you crouch down, you can be insanely accurate at long ranges, which you can't achieve if you're just standing. By controlling the recoil like we mentioned before, and then holding the crosshair about an inch down from your enemy at the end, you're actually able to kill enemies fairly easily at longer ranges. Now, crouching may seem counterintuitive for a weapon like the Odin where you're trying to spray wildly. Many players try to spray while moving with this weapon, which, like most weapons, drastically increases the recoil and spread of the gun. You're not going to hit any shots while moving unless you're feeling the RNG gods by your side. Stick to staying still and crouch down to get those shots in. Now that we know the benefits of crouching, one of the biggest features you're going to want to use with the Odin is ADS, which stands for aiming down sights. This may seem counterintuitive from other guides that you may have seen, talking about the Phantom and Vandal. Reason being that aiming down sights with those weapons will decrease your firing rate and also increase your recoil. But let's take a look at how aiming down sights works with the Odin. When aiming down sights with the Odin, you actually get a massive buff to the weapon. Firing rate increases to 130%, which translates to 15.6 rounds per second, recoil and spread gets reduced, and your crosshair is going to follow your recoil. The last feature applies to the Phantom and Vandal as well, but the firing rate and recoil reduction are the shining factors here. The crosshair following your recoil means that you can focus on getting your crosshair onto your enemies, and you'll be guaranteed to hit your shots if you do so. But getting to the firing rate and recoil though, this greatly increases your accuracy and kill potential, and as such, for most scenarios, you should try to aim down sights as much as possible before you get into your fights. When aiming down sights, the Odin's firing rate is second to the Stinger, which has a firing rate of 16 rounds per second, so make sure that you absolutely aim down sights to get this feature. If you don't, you're doing a very big disservice to the weapon. The only exception really is if you're in a more close range engagement where you don't have time to aim down sight before the fight occurs. In that scenario, shooting without using sights would be the way to go to ensure you get your shots off quicker. One way to avoid such a scenario though is to aim down sights ahead of time when you're in a position where a potential enemy may pop up. For example, if you plan to defend A long on ascent with the Odin, then you want the ADS ahead of time and then move to the position you want to be in. That way you're going to be set up from the get-go and all you have to focus on is shooting enemies when they pop up. A more advanced version of this preparation is what we call pre-firing. One of the features of the Odin is that its firing rate increases over time, so the longer you shoot, the faster your firing rate becomes. This really opens up the Odin for incredible multi-kill potential as you can spray an enemy down and then transfer to the next player with a higher firing rate that will make them much easier to kill. Now there is a ramp up time for the Odin to reach its maximum fire rate. Because of this, a better way to prepare your engagements is to aim down sights ahead of time just like we did before. Once you start hearing an enemy making noise though, you're going to actually shoot before you see the enemy. From there, start creeping your way over to where the enemy is actually at and hold crouch to get into the fight. The advantage of doing this is that it allows your firing rate to increase first before you get into the action. Again, this maximizes your kill potential. The Odin actually keeps its accuracy in check once you stop moving, which makes this technique very broken. If you do this right, you'll definitely tilt players, particularly those who don't know about this, and send them into a rage as it appears that you killed them while moving. The one con of doing this though is that enemies will know where you are before they see you. However, this isn't all too bad since if you time your cards right, they won't be able to make a reactionary play before you jump out the corner and peek them. But do be aware that there is a potential that they'll try to counterplay you in a following round by either having more players waiting for your peek, or if they figured out your habits, they may have abilities prepared the following round that will stop you in your tracks. Now if you really want to master the Odin, one of the key things you'll need to learn are wallbang spots. There are a ton of walls that are wallbangable in the game, the most simplest areas being the doorway at vents on split, along with the most commonly wallbanged area in the game, which is B main on ascent. Because the Odin has a massive magazine size of 100 and a super fast firing rate, if you spawn an enemy behind an area that's wallbangable, you can simply spam it and have a very high chance of hitting them and killing them. If you land even one shot, they'll be done for as the movement speed reduction won't allow them to escape, and you can continue spamming the wall with all 100 bullets to get the kill without risking your own life. There are a ton of walls that can be shot through in Valorant. We mentioned a couple in this video, but if you want to take a comprehensive look at all the wallbang spots on different maps, make sure to check out our wallbang guides that will definitely give you some creative spots to devastate enemies on the Odin. For some though, simply knowing where an enemy is and knowing they're behind a wall that can be spammed through may not be enough for you to be able to land your shots. Because of this, using an agent that can identify these players will be the best with the Odin. Undeniably, the best agent that does this is Sova. Sova has two abilities that can help mark players and set you up for those big tilting wallbangs. The first is his recon dart. The most common play you'll ever see with the Odin is a Sova player recon vaulting B main, marking players and then spamming through the wall to get a quick and easy kill. We've all been there and gotten killed by this before at some point in our Valorant journey. It's the easiest wallbang to do with the Odin and with Sova, so make sure to abuse it as much as possible and consider using recon dart to mark other areas that are wallbangable as well by the Odin. The second option is using owl drone to scout out enemies. If you're able to mark a player with this ability, this again identifies their location and makes for a very easy kill. This can be slightly harder to do though, since you have to get out of owl drone and then wait for the equip time of the Odin before you shoot. However, if you're close enough, you can still make this work. However, if the recon dart is available, we definitely recommend using that first as it's way more effective and you'll already have the Odin out by the time the enemies are marked. Cypher is also an agent that can potentially mark players with his tripwires and then spam them with the Odin. The other option Cypher has is using his camera to spot an enemy out and identify where they are before spamming them. However, both of these scenarios are monumentally harder to achieve compared to Sova's abilities. If we were to pick another agent that the Odin works well with, it would be Cypher because of the above reasons. However, Sova is a clear winner on the #1 agent to pick when using this machine gun. To wrap everything up, a big question we've gotten is when exactly we should use the Odin. With the Phantom and Vandal being such powerful weapons, when should we decide to purchase the Odin over them? To start things off, the Odin really shines when playing in close range positions where it's expected that multiple players are going to show up. It has way better spray transfers than the Phantom and Vandal, so getting into scenarios where you may have to deal with multiple players at once is where the Odin has the edge over the rifles. This doesn't mean to run out like a madman to get into those spots, but if you find yourself in those scenarios often, the Odin may be a great way to switch things up and increase your odds of winning those events. Speaking of that, the Odin really shines more on defense and is lacking on attack. This is because the chances of you facing multiple players in a short duration is way higher on defense, where you know where players are coming from when they hit a site. This versus attack side, where you're looking for individual picks first before bombarding a site. The slow movement speed of the Odin also doesn't help when you're trying to push a site quickly, so defense is definitely the place to be, where you want to purchase the Odin more compared to attack. Lastly, for those just starting to get into Valorant and are having trouble aiming with the Phantom and Vandal, the Odin may be a decent gun to try out first. The recoil is still pretty heavy, however with the faster firing rate and 100 bullet magazines, you can get away with hitting more body shots and still killing players off pretty quickly. Also, you'll never really run out of bullets with the Odin, which is a big plus for beginners. If you miss a few bullets, you still have several in the bag to wipe the floor with enemies. This extra leeway will really help you ease in and get comfortable before trying to progress to learning the recoil of less forgiving weapons such as the Phantom and Vandal. Alright, so if you haven't already, make sure to drop a comment on what weapon you hate the most in Valorant. And while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind: helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.